All right, people, so here's what we did. We took all the hand breakdowns from the entire vlog series, and we even separated them by no limit hold'em and then all the mixed game ones for your viewing pleasure. So take a look. If that's what you were there for the breakdowns with the high-tech, schmoozy, cool, graphics and all that, that's what you'll get in this here YouTube video. Okay, break time. Let's talk about a hand. You want to talk about a hand? Let's talk about a hand. Let's talk about a hand. Okay. 1,500, 3,000 are the blinds. I raised it up with the ace deuce of hearts to 7,000. The big blind, a young Austrian gentleman, defends his big blind. The flop is 7-7-3 with 2 diamonds. Don't have anything. He checks, but I have ace high. I check back. Okay, sometimes I check, sometimes I bet there. The turn is the king of spades. He checks. Another pretty good card for my range, but I decide once again to check back the turn. Sometimes I bet, sometimes I check, as I said, in most spots. The river card is the 6 of diamonds, okay? There's 18,500 in the pot right now. He elects to bet 6,000, okay? And he has 65,000 left after betting 6,000. And without very little deliberation, I looked at my ace deuce, which is nothing, and what do, right? Just, whatever. You could make an argument for call, because ace high could be good. Make an argument for fold, but we went full Adamo. We went full Adamo, and we stuck the whole enchilada into the pot. We just went all in for another 65,000. He thought for a while, and he folded. So, what am I repping there, really, right? I'm repping a couple things. I'm repping some pocket sevens, pocket threes. I'm repping a really big hand. I'm repping full houses and nut flushes, and some king high flushes as well, probably. But king high flush is right around the border. King queen high flush to jam in that spot with the board paired. Probably king high flush or better. That's not what we had, but I thought I had a decent hand that didn't have any interference with the board to go YOLO, and we did, and it worked. So we're back up over starting stack with 150,000. Shorter night tonight, only 8 levels rather than 10, so got to play strong the last 4. Yeah, let's go. Okay, a little bit of a weird last hand there. After I doubled, I felt pretty good. Will Jaffe raising the cutoff. I have queen jack of spades on 22 to 24 bigs. I could jam there easily. It's totally fine. Knowing what I know about him, I feel like he probably leans towards calling more than the average bear. So I decided to flat. Big blind called. So about 80 in there. Check to me, 2 clubs on board. Queen 9-9. I bet 21,000 to about 80, about quarter pot. He check raised to 50K. Kind of awkward, but there's like so many draws there and so much stuff. And I have queen jack, so I call. Turns the jack, puts it all in. I have short stacks. I have what did I have? 125, 150,000. So I called queens and jacks, and he had ace 9 off. Such is life. You always think about after you bust a tournament, what is there another way I could have played it to win? But you're not going to be results oriented when you're doing this thing. All right, on break. Here's the hand breakdown I want to talk to you about. The blinds are 1,500, 3,000, with of course the 3,000 big blind ante. Ryan LaPlante raises from the hijack position to 6,500, a little more than the min raise. Yours truly's in the small blind. I've got the 8-9 of spades, okay? This is a hand where I randomize, and sometimes I 3-bet, sometimes I flat. I'm never folding it, especially 6-max. This is one of the spots where we decide to flat. Big blind folds. The flop is 6-7-8 with 2 clubs. We have top pair open and a straight draw. And that's a flop that we can lead sometimes. More so from the big blind, because that's a really good flop for a big blind range. It's going to have a lot of that stuff. From the small blind, a little tighter, so probably a lot less leads. I decide to check. He checks back, and I'm actually, something about the way he checked, I don't know, I was a little bit concerned that he actually had aces, because aces make sense to have in your check back range here, right? Especially on a board like that, because he knows he doesn't want to get check raised and play a big pot there with the overpair. Turn is the 6, right? So now with 19,000 in the pot, I decide to bet 12. Bet 12 into 19. Pretty close to 2/3 pot, and he calls. The river is a 4, so it makes the 4 card straight. And now there's 43,000 in the pot, and I elect to go with a block bet of 30% pot. So I bet 13,000 with my top pair, and part of what I'm thinking here is this. Obviously, I don't want to face a big bet, right? If I check, he could put me in a tough position. And also, I'm looking to get some looser calls from some ace-high hands, maybe, as well as a 7. Like if he has ace-7, it's very reasonable. He could have 9-7 suited, whole bunch of 7s that may pay off. So a blocking bet has a couple functions for you in that spot. Like he just insta-called, like he had aces. He insta-called, he didn't even think about raising, which is good, right? So, all right, so we chipped up a little bit there. We were down to about 220, as I said. Now we're at 375. Had a hand against an older gentleman where it was raised. I flatted with threes, pocket threes. He called in the big blind. And the flop was pretty. It was 8 deuce 3 with 2 diamonds, right? So check to me, I bet 12,000 into about 37. And then he calls, and the turn is a 7 backdoor club. So it's deuce 3, 7, 8. Pretty good board. He checks. I figure he's got to draw a lot here, so I bet 42,000. He calls. The river's the ace, right? So it completes 4-5, which I guess he could have. But my hope was that he had like, you know, maybe like aces up or just even an ace with a flush draw or something like that. So he checked, and I just went all in, hoping to get called by those hands. And knowing that, like, if he has a draw, he's not calling anyway. There's not a ton of hands that he's calling, like, a marginal size bet with. So that's an Adamo idea that I sort of added to the repertoire in spots like that. Go for it. You know, if he's got that hand, you're going to get paid. And if he doesn't, such as, you know, such is the case. And he's going to fold anyway, right? So very nice. He had jack 6 of diamonds, so he just had a flush draw. That was it. I wouldn't have got paid anyway if I bet small. Okay, so I feel like we've done enough with the shenanigans, the drinking, or whatever. This is a poker vlog. Let's talk about some frickin' poker. First of all, I have not been all in yet in this entire tournament for my tournament life. That hasn't happened once. We've been bobbing and weaving pretty well. And I got 2 hands I want to share with you, okay? And one we're going to have a little fun with, all right? This first one isn't the fun one. Well, they're both fun. But anyway, the blinds are 4 and 8,000, right? We're playing 6 max. We're on the button with 9-5 of hearts. I make it 18,000. And the big blind calls. The flop is queen 7-3 rainbow with 1 heart on there. He checked and I checked back. Sometimes I bet this flop, sometimes I check. And one of the reasons I check some strong hands here is so that I can do what you're gonna hear I just did. So he checks, I check, right? Turn is a jack. He checks. I have nothing, like bottom of my range, 9 high. But I did check back the flop, so I can represent a queen here, a jack, a whole bunch of stuff. Over pairs, sets. I mean, I can still have all that stuff. So he checks. I bet half pot, 24,000. My man calls. The river is a 7. It's an okay card for me. It's not great. I mean, he can have a 7. I probably don't. But I can have overpair. I can have a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, he checks. I bet 96,000 pot. He tanks for a while and he folds. So we win that one. Okay. Now to the interesting one that we're going to like make you guys guess. Okay. So here's the situation. I'm not going to tell you my hand. All right. Same blinds, 4 and 8,000. Player under the gun raises to 16,000. A min raise. I'm in the cutoff and I call with mystery cards. The big blind also calls. Okay. Now the flop is queen 6 deuce, 1 spade, 1 heart, 1 club. Okay. It's check to me. Okay, and I bet 35,000, which is pretty hefty, pretty hefty size, right? You know, I bet pretty big. And the big blind thinks for a while, and he calls. And then the overcall from the guy who raised under the gun, right? That's going to be a hand on queen 6 deuce rainbow. Okay, the turn is a queen. Okay, check to me. I bet 95,000, which is about half pot. Okay, first player thinks for a while, he folds. The under the gun player has about 230 left. So it's 95K to him. And he tanks for a little while, and then he folds the queen 10 of spades. So he had 3 queens with a 10. Now I want to ask you this question. A, what do you think I had, right? B, what do you think my range is in this spot? Like, what do you think I can have here, right? And I want you to guess in the comments down below. I want you to guess. So you can pause the video. Well, you know what? I'm not even going to tell you the hand until later in the end of the vlog. I'll close it with that. So if you're him with queen 10 of spades, would you call in that spot against me? Okay. There's not a ton of, well, I'm just going to leave it there, I think, right? Would you call with the queen 10 of spades, or would you just fold like he did? And again, discuss what do you think my range is in that spot? The bets flop big, bets turn as well, that you beat with queen 10 or that you don't beat, whatever the case may be. So I'll tell you the hand before the vlog ends, and we'll talk a little bit more about, you know, stuff. Oh, you want to know about the hand? All right, so here's the thing about that hand. When I bet the flop big and get called and overcalled, that overcaller's range is going to be, it's going to include aces and kings, okay? It's going to include a queen sometimes too, ace, queen, king, queen, queen, jack, queen 10 as he had, but also aces and kings. The first caller from the big blind, he could have a lot more hands. He could have a 6. He could have a pocket pair like 7s or 8s or 9s. He could have a gut shot, 4-5. There's a whole bunch of hands he could have, right? So when I bet and they get 2 callers, right? That overcall is very, very strong, and we all know that. Now the turn pair is the queen. They both check to me. If I were to bet here, right? How the hell is that ever going to be a bluff? It's just not, right? I'm always going to have here pocket 6s, pocket deuces, king, queen, queen, jack, maybe some queen 10, but not queen 9 because I'm folding that pre-flop even if it's suited. So that doesn't leave a whole lot of bluffs, right? But, old D-Neg's got tricks, okay? I knew that in that spot, I was going to get a shit ton of credit, right? And with the queen pairing, it makes it slightly less likely that that under-the-gun player actually has a queen, and more likely that the combos of aces and kings are what he's dealing with, right? So I felt like I'm going to have some bluffs here, right? And I had one of the best ones. Actually, the card, it was my bad on the thing. The turn was actually the queen of clubs, not the queen of diamonds. But my hand was the king of diamonds and the 10 of diamonds. Eat some of that. I blocked king, queen diamonds and queen 10 diamonds or whatever. But what are you doing, buddy? You good? Are you excited? You're so happy I made that bluff? Yeah, so we bluffed it. We did not have it. And the guy folded queen 10. And I'll tell you what, he made a good fold in theory because you're not going to see a lot of bluffs in that spot where I'm betting turn. I'm almost always going to have him beat. So even though, my man, if you're watching this, you know, I didn't have you that time, you made the right fold. And I'm impressed by the fact that you could fold 3 queens in that spot. Okay, in this hand, we're up against Galen Hall. The blinds are 10 and 20,000, and he's playing 370,000, so less than 20 bigs. He limps on the button. It's definitely a thing. Small blind folds. I have ace of clubs, 8 of diamonds in the big blind. You could theoretically jam, I guess. It's not all that. I don't think you're supposed to against that size though. Ever with ace 8, you're supposed to just check back. So I check. The flop comes queen jack 4 with 2 clubs. I check. He checks. Turns the 7 of clubs. Okay. There's a lot of things I could do here. I could lead small. I could bet big and bottom river. I could check. There's really a wide variety of options. I elect to check over to Galen, who bets half pot, 35,000. Now, once again, I have options. I could check raise, put him to the test. You know, if he's just betting a jack or some sort of like, one club hand, like king 8 with a club or something. Who knows? But I decided to just call in this spot against Galen. The river's a 9. All right. It's a kind of an interesting card because I check, he bets 80,000. And the thing is, it's really tough to find hands where he has nothing, right? Maybe he has like a junky ace, right? And just, bet it twice with some sort of like ace 5 with a club in his hand or something like that. But more often than not, he's going to have, at least a pair, if not 2, if not the straight. I do block the straight and I block the nut flush. But I elected to actually let this one go for some other reasons from an exploit. But I think my hand specifically, if you're ever going to check raise, bluff that river, that's probably the one to do it with. It's at the bottom of my range when I call turn. It's just I don't have a worse hand than that. And it's probably the one that I'm supposed to bluff. But I didn't. And I did it as an exploit. Like the GTO play, I think, for the most part, is probably to just jam that river. And I chose not to, which is fine. All right, we're gonna do a hand breakdown, but it's gonna have to be a walk and talk. We're bagging up big stack, 580,000 with 23 players left. But let's do this hand breakdown, okay? Because it's interesting, and I want you to play it as though you are Nathan Gamble, okay? You're four-handed, and you pick up red 10s, okay? The blinds are 15 and 3 with a 45 ante, okay? So Nathan decides to raise to 8,000. Seems like a reasonable play with 2 10s. Well, Daniel Negreanu 3-bets you from the small blind to 32,000, and you're both pretty deep. Got well over 200K in chips, 250, something like that. So you have the 2 red 10s. You elect to call. Now the flop comes 7 of clubs, 5 of diamonds, 3 of spades. And Daniel Negreanu bets 42,000. 42,000 bet, and you've got 2 red 10s. Let's say you call, okay? The turn card is the 9 of clubs now. And Daniel Negreanu goes all in, puts you all in for 160,000, and you've got red 10s, okay? Now, what would you do if you were Nathan Gamble? He took about 7 minutes, really took his time with it. Can't blame him. Very tough spot. And I'll tell you what was going through my head a little bit. I know that he's he's really, really good. No joke. Like really good at pot limit Omaha 8 or better and Big O. Very good at it. Like he just gets free chips. He knows how to maneuver, knows where he's at. So in a dealer's choice tournament, you know, he's got more things to think about other than, is this a good call? If it's a straight no limit tournament, you know, maybe he just says, okay, well, tens is okay. So if you're him though, you have to think about, well, what do I have, right? Well, the hands he beats, something like 8-9 suited, maybe. He beats ace king of clubs, ace queen of clubs, king queen of clubs. He doesn't have a club, right? So I could have 10 jack of clubs, queen jack of clubs, all these types of, you know, goofy club hands. Those are the only real bluffs. I don't think there's a lot of like more goofy stuff. But if I'm not bluffing, I probably have aces, kings, queens, or jacks. Okay, so let's just ask you, and I'm asking you, what would you do if you were him? Would you call it off for your tournament life there, or would you fold and move on to the next one? I'm not even going to tell you what I have yet, but I'm going to wait till later, and then we'll tell you later. Yeah, more goofy stuff. But if I'm not bluffing, I probably have aces, kings, queens, or jacks. Okay, so let's just ask you, and I'm asking you, what would you do if you were him? Would you call it off for your tournament life there? All right, bubble just burst. We're doing good. We played a no limit hand. I'm gonna fight with Adam a little bit, like I said. I raised under the gun with 7-8 of clubs. He 3-bet, we called. Flop was king 6-3. He bet, we get rid of that one, right? Now he raises the button. I have 9-10 offsuit. I call. Okay. Dude, you can break this hand down. Why the fuck not? Okay. So the blinds were 3-5 with an 8 ante. He raises to 12. I defend with 9-10 offsuit. The flop is 10-4-3 with 2 hearts and a spade. I check. He bets 10,000. I thought about a lot of different things here. I thought about a check raise. Thought he was kind of weak, honestly. But I decided to just flat because that's much more standard in that spot. Now the turn card is the 4 of spades, which brings backdoor spades as well. So now I do the thing, the solver thing. And I bet 5,000, which is like, what? 10% pot. So goofy. He calls. River's the king of hearts, so what now? About 60K in there? What do you do now, right? Oh, you scared? Fuck that. Fuck that. Get some value. I bet 40K. Eat it. He thinks for a while, and he calls me. He even said so with like probably one of the hands that a solver was least likely to ever call with. He had 2 5s with the 5 of hearts, he said, which is a hand that, again, the whole thing about blockers, right? Like it blocks. You want me to have 5-6, some stuff like that. And if he has that, it's probably one of the worst hands to call with. So made a very good thin value bet there because we ain't chicken shit. We're playing to win. Let's go. All right, let's get right to it. It was in level number 1. The blinds are 1 and 200. We were at a 6-handed table. Under the gun is an older gentleman I don't know who raises to 500. And Paul Newey, under the gun +1, calls the 500. We're next up, and we have 2 black 4s. 4 spade, 4 clubs. And we're deep, 50,000 deep. Over a couple hundred big blinds. I decided to 3-bet the hand to 2,200, which is 11x after a raise and a call. Part of my thinking is the under the gun player is probably not going to be 4-betting correctly. He's going to under 4-bet. He's not. I don't think he's the type that's going to 4-bet me with ace-4 suited. So if he does 4-bet, it's going to be very easy to narrow down his range to aces, kings, ace-king type hands. And 2 4s does okay against that in position against a small 4-bet. So we 3-bet. Under the gun player calls. Paul Newey lays his hand down. Now the flop comes 9 of hearts, 7 of hearts, 5 of spade, 5 of diamonds. He checks. I bet 2,000. This bet, first and foremost, the objective of this bet is equity denial. You know, if he does have a hand like, you know, two suited Broadway cards or ace queen, ace king, you know, I deny some equity in that spot with the 2 4s. So I can probably put a bet in here on the flop. And if he does come, you know, play cautiously going forward. Now, he does call, but the turn card is an ace, okay? So when he calls his flop, I take him off a bunch of the, you know, ace-jack type hands. I think he just folds those on the flop to the bet. And so when he checks, I feel like I don't have many worse hands than this, right? Like the only worse hands I have that I would have 3-bet is like 10-jack suited, queen-jack suited, king-queen suited some of the time, not even always, right? So 2 4s ranks pretty low in my range as played when I 3-bet, bet flop, and then bet turn. So I bet 5K, which is about half pot. He thinks for a while. And as he's thinking for a while, I'm thinking, all right, well, if he calls, he's on a draw or something. He might have a pair and a draw that's got me beat. So I'm going ham on the river. But luckily he folds. We pick up the pot. and move on. So, all right, at the end of the night, I'm going to have a hand breakdown of a hand I played with this gentleman right here. Very good player, knows what's up. It's an interesting one. But before we get to that one, I want to talk about the Phil Hellmuth hand.
Oh.
I'm going to break that one down. Okay, we're going to break that one down. So here's what happened. Phil sat down with 50K, 2 and 4,000 blinds. Okay, he opens the button for a min raise with 2 jacks. Seems good. Ankush Mandavia, that gentleman over there, he called, right? And the flop was King 8 deuce.
Yeah.
Ankush checks. Phil bets 6,000. We're okay with that. We're fine with that, right? Yeah. Now the turn card is a 3.
I don't remember the board.
Turn is a 3. Turn is a 3. Ankush checks. Phil has 36,000, and he bets 15,000.
6.
Okay. 6. Ankush calls. And on the river, Phil now has 21,000. The river's a 7. Complete blank. There was no flush draw. Ankush checks. Phil bet 11,000 of the 21. Ankush called with the King 6. Phil turned over the jacks and said, see, he's a good player. He knew I had it. He didn't raise me. All the idiots would have raised me.
He knew I had it. I don't understand.
He means I knew I had a good hand pre-flop. So, what do you think of that line, no limit hold'em? You guys decide. How about you?
I think the river bet from Phil is a bit too thin.
Yeah?
Turn bet is fine, but on the river it's a bit too thin because it's also tough to get called with Phil's image as well. His problem with either side.
So there you have it. Breakdowns. We're doing team breakdowns now. And I'll give you the one that this gentleman played against me at the end of the night. All right, done for the night, and we bagged a big old stack of chips. 617,000. The average is about 250, and we're pretty close to the money. It's going to pay 64 spots. There's maybe 85 players left, something in that neighborhood. So I feel great. I mean, listen, I know myself, okay? I know when I'm tired. I know when I'm not. And when I am tired, starting on time is a big mistake. I felt great today. So anytime we feel great, if we're ready to play, especially if it's 5K or above, right on time registration worked out for us today. Ran pretty good. Had a cash in the online event as well. I did promise you guys one more hand breakdown. This has been the hand breakdown episode for sure. Lots of them, okay? So this one's an interesting one. This is a hand against Alex, who's, obviously a good player, understands theory and all that kind of stuff. And the blinds are 2,000, 4,000, 4,000, big blind Annie. He raises under the gun, and I have ace king in the big blind, okay? That's a very difficult spot to play because he had a pretty good stack of chips, right? So 3-betting there, it's very difficult to create a balanced 3-betting range from this position. You want to protect your calling range, a whole bunch of things, right? So ace king's a natural 3-bet, but we elect in this case to just flat, okay? Now the flop comes queen jack 3. I check, he bet 6,000. Queen jack 6, pardon me. Queen jack 6, rainbow. I check, he bet 6,000. Very small, 6 into 22, no big deal. Obviously standard check call. Turns a 3, so the board is queen jack 6-3. I check, he checks. Now the river is a 10. All right, so I make the nut straight. Now here's the thing, right? In theory, my range doesn't have ace king. His does, right? So what a solver will generally tell you is that in a spot like that, you can't bet big. You certainly can't overbet. You certainly can't make a big bet because your opponent just has the nuts way more often than you do, right? So what's standard there, for the most part, is going to be some sort of a blocker bet with my hand. Now, against this specific player in particular, I thought a blocker bet was absolutely the right play because, and I bet 13,000 on the river, absolutely the right play against him because I felt like he's going to look at this board and go, okay, well, Daniel doesn't have ace king. I'm going to put him to the test and I'm going to pop him, which is exactly what we want, right? And that's exactly what happens. He makes it 79K. He only has about 60 behind after that. So we, of course, have the nuts. We put them all in. He folds after some thought, and he told me he had 8-9, which you think about that. So he wasn't bluffing, which is what I was hoping to get him to do with like ace-5 suited or some goofy hand like that. But he made a good laydown with the 8-9. It's just an obvious laydown, though. Like, what 3-bet bluff am I going to have there? Seriously, if I had anything but ace-king, I'm just going to call. If I had king-9 or 8-9, I'm not going to re-raise. I'm just going to call. So he can make the fold there. But interesting spot.